All right, I want to call to order the Tree Protection Board meeting, November 8th, 2021. First order of business to approve the meeting minutes from September 7th. Does the board have any amendments or changes to those minutes?
I move we accept as is. And I'll second it.
Having a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Old business, several commons, removal of trees for apartment development. I think we have some representatives here. Morning.
Good morning. My name is Erica Chase with Stantec. I was before you, if you recall, back in September, a couple months ago. With me this morning, I have Kelly Dunbar with Childers Klein and John Prim, who works with me at Stantec. If you recall, I'll kind of give a recap of what I discussed at last meeting and what we've done since then, if that's okay. If you recall, it's a apartment site at Berlin G. Myers, East 9th Street and Farm Springs. It is 266 units. It has approximately 15 feet of elevation change across the site. So it's been really challenging and atypical for obviously what we deal with in the low country. The buildings anchor Berlin G. Myers to have the street frontage. We did receive CDRB final approval for site and landscape back in August. The site, again, the grading dictated a lot of the site plan as well. And then the other challenge was that we had to work with the adjacent development across 9th Street, who is another engineer, another developer, to align our driveway with their development since they were ahead of us in the development process. All of the site and the sidewalks do meet ADA accessibility requirements. And then we also meet the 10% open space that's required by the UDO. If you can go to the site plan, if it's possible, thank you. If you could go a little bit further and I'll come back to that slide. Continue. But this is good. This is also our landscape plan, which we submitted for this submittal, which was not included when we came in September. But you can see that the driveway had to align across the street. Buildings had to anchor Berlin G. Myers. And then again, the grading and the site plan really dictated a lot of the layout. So if you can go back, Jesse, please, to the second slide, I think it was.
Could I ask a quick question?
Of course.
Where is that traffic circle? I had a lot of trouble with these diagrams. I apologize.
The traffic circle is mostly on property that's not ours. So there is a shared right-of-way agreement that is being worked on between the adjacent developer and Childers Klein in the town to deed over the land for the 9th Street extension that will connect to Farm Springs and connect to the adjacent development.
And that is 9th Street leading in that we can't see.
Yes, sir.
Off the screen to the left.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Berlin G. Myers being on the top of the screen, Farm Springs being on the bottom.
Okay. And on the what is it on the left? That's a new. When you say the top, all the way on the top is part of Myers?
Yes, sir. We also have a multi-use path along Berlin G. Myers that I believe Sawmill Center, the adjacent development, is also developed, including in their plans.
Going quickly back to your landscape drawing, is there actually a list of trees or shrubs or understory that
Yes, it
available?
should have been included. Was it not with the package?
I don't know. Bill, I don't think we saw one earlier, but
I didn't,
Okay.
no.
It was included with the CDRB package that went to CDRB as well. But going back to one of the questions, if you can go up right here, perfect, thank you, was if we could rotate the building to allow for the trees to be saved, which again goes against what CDRB was wanting, having the buildings along Berlin G. Myers. But we went through the exercise just to show the grade change. So you can see the building finished floor and then show where the grades are adjacent to or right outside the building and how that exercise proved that it wouldn't work. If you could go to the next slide.
It's hard for us to see that, what you just described, to be honest with you.
So it shows the building finished floor at 73.5, and I apologize for my glasses on. 73. And then the site grades are at 67 in that area, so it's a 6-foot elevation change. And that's why it wouldn't work if we were to rotate the building. That was one of the questions that was asked at the last meeting in September.
Right, so that hedgerow of live oaks, trees 1 through 6, I believe, is that
Yes, sir.
correct?
So what we were able to do is save 2 of the live oaks without jeopardizing all of the items that I just discussed. We will lose some parking and we will bend the multi-use path around one of the live oaks. I believe it was a 21-inch oak. And then I think it was a 35. Inch oak. If you could go to the first focus area there. Yes, thank you. So the 35-inch and the 21-inch we are able to save since our last meeting. Again, without jeopardizing keeping, all of the items that I listed with grading, buildings on the street, CDRB, access.
so you have, I guess toward Berlin G. Myers, you have the sidewalk on that one tree, and then you have the building and the parking around the second tree, if you will. Any mitigation efforts planned to ensure the survivability of those 2 trees?
Yes, absolutely. We would have an arborist engaged during that process early on during construction.
Particularly during the phase of removing that which is surrounding it.
Absolutely. And then possibly, I know a lot of times what we'll do is before construction starts is go have the injections done to help the health of the tree and let those absorb so that it strengthens the tree pre-construction.
Because what we're speaking about is, doing a successful, we're as far out as it needs to be root pruning. So as things aren't ripped out when the trackhoe comes in.
Yes, sir.
And does everything that it does.
And along the multi-use path, since we are a little bit in the protection area, we'll make that area pervious pavement of some sort to help versus concrete.
That's good.
So around the tree closest to Berlin G. Myers, you'll have a different type of, material? is What
Yes.
you're saying?
Pervious versus concrete.
Could you get us a plan of that so we can look over that plan?
Sure, it'll be absolutely.
Okay.
And then if you go to the next slide, it'll show an area. This was just an area that, looking at the grading, that we could save some clusters of pines. Again, the grading is really challenging on this site, but this was an area that we could save kind of a couple of clusters of pines. And this is along 9th Street towards Farm Springs.
Well, we'll take any additions that come, that's for sure.
Yes, sir, of course.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board anymore? Does anybody want to make a motion?
I don't know if there's anything outstanding that has to happen, but you wanted to look at the diagram of the impervious surfaces, but other than that, I guess there's nothing in the way, so I'll make a motion that we approve the changes that have been made since our last meeting.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all very much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your effort. New business, 106 Hazelton Bend. Is there anybody here representing that property? Good morning.
I'll start by, my name is Brian McLaughlin. My primary interest for being here is this lovely little lady here. I have a hard time keeping her off the roof of her house, and she's always sweeping off the pine needles off the roof. And again, I'm just basically trying to avoid a potential tragedy. And the last time she was up on the roof, she actually did fall, but she didn't fall off the roof. She just fell on her butt on the roof. But if you can imagine, that got my attention. And anyway, so there are other concerns relating to the trees being there, but primarily mine is quite honestly just wanting to keep her off the roof. And anyway, I would greatly appreciate it if y'all would approve it. I have absolutely no problem with trees. I absolutely love them, but the only issue with this one is the location. And I'm more than happy to go out of my way to plant wherever y'all would like, or whatever y'all would like anywhere. But I just, any location of where other than where they're at now.
Is this your residence as well then?
Actually, no, I live at a different residence.
Okay.
But I just happen to love the owner of it. of that.
That's great.
The trees, there are two pine trees, I'm sure you're aware of. One is a small pine. That tree has a good lean towards the neighbor's house, and they're worried about it in the future with storms and everything. But the one pine tree, the big pine tree, I went out and looked at it, as you know, I'm sure y'all did. The one big tree is a healthy tree, and I explained to
Let me
them
call you back. I'm in a meeting.
that if they were granted, approval with the options of replacing it with other trees on their property, might be an avenue that they could go, which I'm not sure what y'all's rulings are, how y'all go about that. I just know the last time we were in here, y'all give somebody those options. That's why I'm here this morning.
Can we see the pictures, Jesse?
As far as the options go,
That's not it.
there's been a change to the options, but they're always available to do what you wish to do in terms of mitigating for a lost tree. The mitigation for that tree would be rather large, because that's a pretty impressive tree,
Yeah,
the big one.
It's huge.
It's huge.
It's
It's
something
huge
where I
and-
would get a location between not so much room for it to go. And you got a house on one side, one on the other. It's pretty and impressive.
So
It's huge. It's a beautiful pine tree.
Yes, it is.
We're talking about number 3.
Yeah, you're on the wrong.
This is Hazelton, right? Oh, you're on Hastings. Okay, was there somebody here for Hazelton?
We heard, I think I'm a little hard of hearing. I thought you said 106.
No, it's 106 Hazelton, so.
Yeah,
Well, that's-
both
that's-
at 106 too, both of you.
That's fine. We can come back to y'all. Is there a property owner for this one? Hazelton Bend?
Hastings.
We just happen to have two 106s.
Right, but right now Hazelton Bend is what we're looking at for new business, 106. There's no, that's fine. So we're actually on the right ones, Jesse. Okay. Okay. So going back to the pictures. Oh, one more, Jesse, where we've seen them all at the base. There we go. Go one more, where that we saw number 3. Number 4. Which one was that? The,
Number 4 was the monster tree.
yeah,
And number 3 is the big old tree back there.
right.
3, okay.
But it's healthy.
Yes.
All right, so I guess we need to just start with number 1.
Bill, didn't we have sort of a cursory discussion? And they altered their request, so to speak?
Yes, we talked with them about what some trees, and we talked, I can't tell you what trees to. We talked about maybe letting tree 1, tree 2, and then
Correct.
denying tree 3 and 4, and then cut one part of the tree 5 down, which is got a black gum in a willow oak there. Take the black gum out, and then number 6 was 3 black gums, wasn't it?
Right.
And take one of those or 2 of those out.
2 of those
What
were out,
y'all's
yeah.
discussion y'all were thinking would be how does that or fill in that?
Yes, you got all that, Faye, right? From
So can we go back to one, at least a picture showing 1 and 2, and start from there?
You want to go tree by tree, Kenny?
I mean, I think that'd be easier. If we're gonna not approve them all, we need to look at them individually.
It gets complicated when we have 3 stems and we're leaving 1 out of 3. But if you need to have a motion on each cluster, then I'll go ahead and make a motion that 1 and 2 be removed.
Yeah, I just want to look at the base. I'm just reminding myself what I saw the other day. So yeah, 1, 2, okay. Three. Does anybody need to see anything else on this page?
No, it's,
All right, can you go to the next one, Jess? I'm sorry. Hey.
You're talking about, you want to make a motion on the cluster. And removing part of that cluster.
Well, we want to make one motion if we can, right? So
Yeah, it would
we can
be
go on
good.
to, we can go on to the next picture, shows 4.
okay.
And as I remember 4, there was no defects or issues with that, Bill, or anybody else on the board.
Right, that's a straight as an arrow, perfectly healthy pine tree. It's just a big tree.
And that was true for 3 too, right? Do you have a
Yes.
comment on 3, Bill? I mean, there was no issues on that tree that was,
3 didn't have any issues at all, or number 4.
okay.
It's a healthy tree. Strong. Straight.
So number 6,
That's the,
The right fork of number 6 had a dead top in it.
hard to see, but still, we were there.
removal of that one lateral is,
There you go.
yeah.
So was that 1/2 of the,
That's the bulk of that tree too, isn't it, Bill?
Yes.
Okay.
The number 5 was the willow oak.
And it's okay.
Mhm.
It has had some damage in the top of it too, but it healed itself back pretty good.
Do we need to make a separate motion to remove those number 6?
I think we have one more tree. Is there number 7?
No,
That's it? Okay.
Yeah, there is just one more,
You got that split. The
one more
3,
cluster
the
of
group of 3.
3, one more
That's
page
5.
down. It's there,
Other side.
there's, up, I mean, excuse me, I'm sorry. There,
well, actually, the black gums are the 2 out there by the 6, and then those other 2 over there by the number 5. The 5 cluster. So y'all had talked about those parts that are the black gums there, or that are have declining upper tops crowns to remove.
and to save the central stem to the left, yes.
Yes, this, the one all the way to the left by number 6 saved, and the one, yeah, that saved that part. And then take that part out.
And save the left of
Save
number
the
5.
willow oak, and then take the next 2 pieces out right there, it had dead tops in them.
So
If you want to make a motion, Peter, that's fine.
I'll make a motion on that we allow removal of the discussion that we just had based on the pictures and that's it.
You want me to clarify that?
Or if you're gonna go tree by tree,
I can.
I can too.
Okay.
I make a motion that we remove tree number 1, tree number 2, the inferior stem in tree number 6, the 2 interior stems of the tree number 5, cluster of tree number 5.
A second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next new business is going to be 89 Old Trolley Road, removal of a 31-inch cedar tree. Is there anybody here representing that property? And Bill, they wanted to remove this just for the aesthetics of the parking lot.
It said, parking lot, parking approval, and I guess aesthetics. They did not really say what the, wasn't a good explanation, and nobody ever talked to me.
But there's not been a request do they need a request or permit to add a,
They hadn't
More
shown
hearts.
whether they wanted to add any parking spots. They hadn't, when we were there looking at it, we couldn't see any, where it's blocking any vision of the sign, or it said, oh, the other thing, they were wanting to trim up some of the oaks, limb up some of the oaks at the site. Parking and limbing up oaks is what they said. So it didn't look like a spot right there. You could put a parking spot there that close to the road.
And they had, excuse me, they had other parking spaces closer to the building that are seldom filled. And some were even parking on, I think, part of the grass, which is, again, and they had parking in the rear.
We stood at the sign and looked back down Trolley Road to the left there, and we couldn't see where it was. There was another sign down there in front of the Jackson Davenport or whatever, the optical store. eyeglass place, and its sign was blocking more than the tree was.
And again, it was only issues for the parking lot. There was nothing specific.
I mean, the tree appears to be very healthy for its age and size. I mean, I don't,
It
I
was
don't know.
huge, it was huge for a cedar tree
yeah.
Yeah,
and healthy.
those places that you see in that picture there, that's where it's been pruned and trimmed and healed in the past and healed very well.
I mean, based on the information we have and the health of the tree, I make a motion that we deny this permit.
Second.
Second, it.
Having a second, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. One 118 Azalea Drive, removal of one cypress and one gum tree.
Good morning. How
Morning.
are you guys doing today?
Good.
I'm Denise Miller. I'm at 118 Azalea Drive. I have, like you said, 2 trees that I had you guys come out and take a look at. One of them in the front yard is a cypress tree, and it is causing some damage to the sidewalk, getting a house, and I'm worried about the foundation of my house. The other one is in the backyard. It is a gum tree. It's fairly large. It sits in between my house and my neighbor's house. And about 3 years ago, we had a very nice oak tree come down, and by the grace of God, it went right in between my other neighbor's, Becca's house, and mine. And it didn't do any damage except for the fence. And I'm just concerned with the size of this tree that it will come down and do some damage. It's ginormous. So I'd like to get approval to go ahead and have it removed. It does look like it is leaning more towards my neighbor's house, and it could cause some serious damage there. Any questions?
I have some comments, if I could.
Okay, yes.
Cypress tree. When that goes away, it's going to get even wetter out down below there, and you're aware of that.
Yes, and I do plan on planting.
Okay. It's
I
a
just-
cypress site, and it's just amazing. I've never seen,
It's beautiful. It's one of the
Well-
things that I loved when we bought the place. I was
but
like,
knees coming into your house, maybe
Yeah.
through your floor one day, that's
being
crazy.
uneducated, I didn't know about those things.
Like a horror show,
Yeah.
Halloween. However, there is an option. I'm just going to make it as a suggestion, particularly if you like the tree that is there. Those roots are not very deep that create those knees. And if you came across the front of the yard and root pruned all of that, that's not enough. You would need to put down a barrier. Then there's all kind of bio barriers made. There's concrete, of course, and then there's other fabric type barriers that will discourage the roots away. What that would do, of course, would create a concentration of more knees on either side of this line in front of you, this DMZ in front of your house.
Mhm.
But that would save the tree, make the knots go away. The knees, excuse me. That's just a suggestion.
Right.
As far as the gum tree, yeah, it's a big one and it's a healthy one and a really nice crown. There's 2 very large limbs that lean toward your neighbor's house that I believe could be removed without challenging the integrity of that tree. That would take the load issue away to some degree. We saw nothing else hinting to us that it was, in an immediate or any even distant danger of falling over. But that's my comment.
Can we see the pictures?
When it comes to trimming the dead trees on Randy Tree Road, I don't like, there's a lot of tree companies that push, with the top, this happens, a few limbs. What are y'all's requirements or?
20%
20, no more than 20%.
of the canopy, yeah, and no topping, which you probably would have known anyhow. Yeah,
That's,
you're talking about
Don't
all the
go
other
there.
guys. Right. 20%, and those 2 probably didn't comprise 20% of the crown of the tree because it's so big, but They were worrisome, potential, not so much that they're dying or unhealthy or anything like that, but something could happen, ice storm, windstorm, whatever, and they might break and then they'd fall in the neighborhood.
Yeah, the location is the issue that we're concerned about.
I
Anywhere
understand.
else, a little farther away, or even in the front yard, over, where we've got, a nice oak starting over there, that could take some area where we could do some other planting. It's just sitting in that location. You notice they have, a nice mobile home, that sits in their driveway as well. They had some branches taken off to get some clearance, which, I know they're concerned about it as well.
Does she have any options with, if it was approved to get it done, does she have options for planting other trees to go back into the yard or on the property?
Certainly, you have all the options in the world if you're willing and wanting to do them. The parameters for mitigation are not what they used to be. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Kenny, anybody? But it's a small enough yard that in terms of the way we used to look upon it, it is to replace the amount of DBH diameter of that tree in other trees adding up to that same diameter. There wouldn't be room in your yard. There is an option of donating money to the tree fund. But if we approve the tree, then without a mitigation clause, then it's up to you to what you want to do. But yes, and there is some required. If you were to take that tree down, if we would make it so that you would mitigate for that tree. But as it stands now, correct me if I'm wrong, you'd only have to plant one tree. And part of what we're all about is not just having a pretty tree, it's what the tree contributes to the environment. And those are numerous.
Right, and I appreciate that a lot.
And it would take a long time to reproduce the effort that tree is now exerting. on
Right, I just
behalf
didn't
of
know
us.
if there were some other trees that would be more conducive to the homes being so close together with damage that can be done. And we do have so many storms here, and we have a lot of other large trees in the area. Maybe there's, something that's sits a little lower and can be, this one is just so big. I mean, we can't do anything with it, where if it was a new tree that is normally managed and trimmed up, we could probably add more of that to get some more shade coverage, oxygen producing material out there, other than this particular one. But, again, I don't know the ratio of, you're talking about the trunk size, or is it the canopy and
Trunk.
how
Trunk.
that
Trunk.
the trunk. Okay, so it's the trunk size. So
Yes.
whatever I got to put in there, if we decided to go ahead and get rid of the tree and put something else in there, is it how many, if I plant something, is it how many years that do I have before that diameter gets to the size of that diameter of that trunk?
Not
It's inches.
It's not that precise. And it all depends on the kind of tree you plant.
Okay,
I don't know what stipulated specifically in terms of the size of the mitigated tree, to be honest with you, but it does not, I don't think it refers to, it's probably going to be, well, I know it's a minimum of 2.5 inches in diameter. just So you can get started with a tree that has, not
so
a
the
little
tree has to
suffering.
start as 2.5 inch
Yes,
diameter?
the one you would purchase, right?
Bill, you want to confirm that, what the mitigation is now? Or Jesse?
Jesse,
Yeah.
what's our requirement now for a mitigation tree? Would they have to mitigate inch for inch, or would they just don't have the option of the bank, or is it just one tree for a tree? like Peter said.
Isn't it? This is not considered a grand tree.
Yes.
Yes, it
It
is.
is, would it be inch by inch? It's inch to inch. If you take down 50 inches, you got to replace that, like she was saying, you don't have that much room to put that many
Right.
trees.
No, and understanding if it's inch by inch, that's, I just trying to understand what it is. And,
It's-
but is there a, like, I have to plant that inch by inch, or is there over, like, there's a 5-year or 3-year grace period where in 3 years it should
You
get
got to
planted
plant
at that
yeah.
time?
Yes, right.
because that's what you would be taking out at that time.
Okay.
So we're still looking at 100% mitigation for a
Grand
grand tree based on the DVH of,
No option, the way I understand, no option to put any money in the tree bank with that now. You have to plant those on site.
I know that's changed recently. Okay.
You see, you could prune that limb at less than 20%, of course, but prune it within that range to alleviate part of your problem.
Okay.
And the amount of water that this tree consumes is way more than most people realize.
Mhm.
And we live in the low country,
Yeah.
and that's certainly something to consider, that you've got a tree here that is doing a lot for you in
Right.
that respect.
So we're talking about 12 trees, give or take. I mean, 2.5 inches, it's a 31-inch tree. Did I read that right?
Yep.
No, that's not the right one. Do you know what size diameter that
I
is?
didn't see what size that was. I mean,
It's
I
not
measured it.
listed.
I know I measured it, but I don't see where I wrote it down anywhere.
So just an example, it was 30 inches. It'd be close to 12 inches based on a minimum of 2.5-inch caliper trees. That's a lot of trees
It would be a lot of trees.
and on the site and cost wise for planning, because you have to make sure it survives for a year, Bill, or longer.
Yes.
All right.
I guess the question is though, the tree is healthy
Yes.
and there's no defects that we saw. There's a suggestion to trim it
Mhm.
and take some of that load off. And one of the things we suggest too is if it's not allowed, is when the tree is being trimmed, if you're off the ground, you're looking at it and you find some defects, and you can come back to us with pictures and some quantitative information, then the chances are you may be successful in getting the permit the next time.
Or
But
you
we
can
can't see
call-
that from
you
the
can call
ground.
me that day and I'll come out there while you're
Right.
doing it, while you're there. If you find a health problem with the tree.
We have a good group that's willing to work with you,
No, this
but
is
at
great.
this, but at the same
appreciate it.
time, we have our
Yeah.
guidelines that we have to follow.
Yes.
And we are the tree protection board. And we want to, can't help it. Want to save our trees and get back to how much water that tree consumes. It saves you, and most people don't realize this. And that tree is giving out the oxygen that we need. And to eliminate that tree
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
hard.
So the cypress tree up front, I would still like to go ahead and see about getting that one removed. I'll plant other trees out there. It doesn't have quite the diameter, and we do have some space. I can just see those, knolls going someplace else, causing damage. They're in the ditch. There's like you talked about SCDOT, that state road there, they are getting into that pipe as well, the road. So if I do get it from going around my house, there's still going to be a lot of other damage coming up the driveway. So I would like to go ahead and get that approved if I could.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. That we permit the removal of the cypress tree. But in the last minute, just before, think about the root pruning, because looking at the picture now, that's a really nice tree. That's not a grand tree, is it though?
I don't think so.
But in any event, just at least think about it. And I would also move that we do not remove and just subject a large sweet gum to just proper pruning to alleviate some of the fears about it.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, so the motion is to remove the cypress and just trimming on the sweet gum. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Next one is gonna be 302 Rutherford Street, removal of one pine, one magnolia, and one dogwood tree. Morning.
So the dogwood, as you can tell, is dead on the side of the house. This pine would be, want to put a gravel driveway in. There's a lot of roots running towards the house, and also the main sewer line and water line go right beside the tree on each side. I just want to avoid any kind of future issues with the pipes. And then as far as the magnolia in the back, in the near future, we're hoping to build a garage behind the house, and the magnolia is right in the way. I am working with a contractor now, working on a site landscape plan to landscape around the house. We just moved in about 2 months ago, so kind of a barren landscape right now.
Jesse, can we see the pictures?
Have you done a locator to find the lines?
Yeah, you can see the green cover to the right there. That's the sewer line, and just on the other side is the water meter. They're about 4 feet apart, straddling the tree. That's the magnolia where we'd like to build the garage. It's a beautiful tree, but with the live oak in my neighbor's yard, I really don't want to get too close to that to build a garage and damage the root system on that. We're limited to what we can build.
Can you go back to the pine tree?
Yes, please.
All right, come down a little bit, Jesse, if you don't mind for me. A little bit more. That's, yeah, right there.
That's what you were looking.
That's
at
what I was,
yesterday.
yeah, I don't know if y'all noticed it last time. There's a small defect there. Doesn't mean that it's compromising the tree, but can't see it from the ground.
And then once again, could you go down a bit, Jesse, so we could see the sewer line, the sewer, is there a cover for the sewer?
Yes, yes. Right next to that little bush, there's a green cover for the clean out. And then about 3 to 4 feet to the left of that on the other side of the tree is where the water meter is.
Which we can't see.
Go back down to the other picture you can. Up then, excuse me.
You're
See the little blue box in that
Yeah.
blue box way to the,
Yep.
Yeah, that little pot's blocking it. I took a picture of it this morning on my phone.
That'll take a good bit of, granted, there aren't a lot of trees on the lot, but do you have any plans for re-landscaping?
Yes, yeah, that hope to have a nice landscape put together finally.
Because it's a really pretty area. It's just, I was really surprised. It's just a barren lot sitting there
I
in
know,
the middle
yeah.
of all those trees.
It surprised me too when we found the house, and I mean, we fell in love with the house, so we just know we got a lot of work to do on the landscape. But we moved from Kings Grant, so we love trees, as you.
Yeah, you have, oh,
Transfer.
yeah.
We can't really make a decision on the magnolia until you have those plans for the garage. This is a little bit premature at this point for the Magnolia.
Okay. So, well, the only issue is I don't want to spend the money on the putting the plans together and then that gets denied. Is there a chance that it will get denied if I have the drawings for the garage?
You could look at how much leeway you might have to locate, relocate, shift the garage so that the Magnolia might be saved. We would consider something like that, yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know if there's any pictures that show it, but my neighbor has a very large live oak right on the fence line that overhangs our yard. I wouldn't want to get into the root system and build a garage underneath it. So where the Magnolia is the only spot for the garage, really.
Well, it's going to be important for us to see some type of plan
Okay.
before we can approve it. It's just, there's no way around that, unfortunately. I'm sure you can talk with town and make sure that what size garage you're talking about putting there will even fit with the setbacks and all.
That was your original question. Was there a chance that the garage would even be denied, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I probably not, but again, it'd be good for us to see it first. That's just the normal way we do it.
I got you. Okay. Yeah, I can get the drawings and resubmit.
And you
The
don't need to get
landscape
the
plan
permit.
also with your, where you can put other trees in the yard and all will help a whole lot too.
Yeah, with the garage comes the landscape.
So just wrap it back to the pine tree. You were looking at putting a gravel driveway in, did you say? And there's concerns with the tree for the sewer and the water.
Sewer and water and the root system. It's, as you walk through the yard, it's a lot of roots sticking up, going to the front door.
Has there been any impact to the water or sewer that you're aware of?
Only months.
Yeah. I don't know, the seller may have told you something.
The house actually sat abandoned for about a year and a half while she was doing the renovation. So
Mhm.
and I don't know about the previous owner.
Healthy tree.
Go back again, down, Jesse, just right there again. I think we had more information on that. That defect there may help us make a decision on that tree.
I'm not that tall.
Want to go out and look at it again? or what?
Well, I mean, we're not gonna be able to get up there to look at it. I mean, you know what size this tree is, Bill?
I don't.
That tree to have been there that long in the sewer and the
No, I
water
did not write
lines
that down.
to have been there that long. A lot of these roots go around something like that. It's not like it's determined that I'm going to go through it where it go, because obviously it hasn't.
It has, yeah. I mean, as
It
far as I
hasn't.
know, it hasn't yet.
And
I've just seen it. I've been in construction my whole life, on heating and air and plumbing, and I've seen it many, many, many times. So.
I understand what you're saying, but it's been there a long time and it hasn't happened.
Mhm.
And there's some credit to that.
Right. Well, we don't know it hasn't happened.
Well,
Yeah, well, that's true. That's why
We
that's why
don't.
we're asking.
Yeah.
Um,
Is there? Is there an urgency that you want to get out there, if we want to get out there and look at that tree again? Is there an urgency to have the pine tree taken down before, for instance, you get the permit for the garage?
No, that's fine. I'm still working on the drawings for the garage, so it'll still be probably another month or so before I get those.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we defer judgment on this and take another look at the pine tree. And if it's okay with you, sir, that we wait till you get the permit for the driveway and then just meet again?
Yes. Do I need to get a permit to do a gravel driveway?
Well,
I wouldn't think so.
this is a tree committee.
I don't think you have to have a, Jesse, you don't have to have a permit for a gravel driveway, do you? No, it's just cement, a non-pervious is what you have to.
Yes.
Yes,
It's just a mud hole when it rains, so.
so it would just be for the garage.
Okay.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah, that's acceptable.
I so move.
Okay, do I have a second?
You don't
Second.
want to look at the
A
dogwood?
second. Yeah,
No,
Dog
no,
is not a
oh,
problem.
I'm sorry.
Dog was not a
Oh,
problem.
I forgot about the dead tree.
we could make a second motion for that if you'd like. To
I
have
mean,
the-
you already approved that, didn't you, Bill?
Well, it's all in the same package, so
Okay.
no, I don't approve anything, and once one tree's coming to
Okay.
y'all, all of them do, so.
I'll rephrase it, that we permit the removal of the dogwood immediately and defer judgment on the pine tree and magnolia tree pending permit application or submission for the garage.
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Just, it would helpful if you had an arborist possibly look at that defect in that pine tree. It may go a long way to decide, what we'll be able to do with it. Okay, thank you. $114 Sterlington Drive, removal of 2 pine trees.
I don't think they're here, and I don't think they ever paid their $25, so. To be in this committee, so,
All right, do we have a need to even look at it then?
nope.
Okay. Moving on, 121 Plantation Drive, removal of 2 oaks and 1 river birch. Is anybody in Plantation? No.
He's not here today. He was getting a colostomy this morning, and he said if he could not reschedule it, it would be. And I told him I thought we had enough information on it to make a decision.
All right, then we move down to the
Pictures?
pictures, please.
I'll explain that to y'all. So go back down, Jesse. This is a white oak, number 1 there that's leaning over the house. And then you can slide up, and those are the roots. And we dug down there where that main root goes there, and it looks like it goes underneath the house, and then some of them come around the house. The foundation hadn't cracked yet anywhere, but the roots are all very, very close to the house, and the tree was leaning towards the house. Number 2 is a live oak tree that's a little bit close to the house. We didn't see any signs of any brick cracking or anything there. And there's a river birch in the backyard that I didn't get a picture of.
And at least one of those leaders goes over the
One of the
house.
leaders was leaning way over the house bad, and they had a cable in it trying to help support it. Tied back to the other. And we felt like if we cut that one leader is off, that was leaning over the house, it would, it was so loaded to the trunk, down in the trunk, that it would get right in the trunk on a river brook rather easily.
I asked Danny about that and he agreed with you.
He did.
Yes, he
Okay.
did.
It's always good to have a second opinion.
Particularly his.
Yes.
Any comments on number 2? Remove the 2 main laterals over the house. What do you think about the remainder of the tree being weighted one way plus being so close to the house? If it went over, it's probably gonna pull up the,
I'm just absolutely
Foundation.
astounded it hasn't cracked the foundation already. I'm astounding that they've, and you can see the major branches that had to be cut off because they were touching the garage. And they were big, they were tree-sized branches. So no, I think, I'm just amazed that they've been so patient with all of the trees, the 3 trees in that yard were rather imposing for all these years.
Must have a strong foundation.
okay. Did
Has
you go
not
back to
cracked
1?
it on either side.
And I dug that one root out. It was 4 inches in diameter. It was going right under the house, straight out of that red oak.
But the white oak right there?
Number 1, yeah.
Yeah. How far do you think that tree is from the house? 15 feet?
In that neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like a mini forest. There's a gum and another oak in there.
A lot of codominant stems. All right, does anybody want to make a motion on this particular one?
I move that we approve removal of 3 trees they requested.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 106 Hastings Way.
Oh, yes, I think we've seen you before.
Oh.
Greatly appreciate the time. Something that I did mention before is that the trees in question are 4.5, 5 feet away from her bedroom wall, but it's positioned directly between her house and the neighbor's house. And not only the fact that I'm trying to keep her off the roof, but just the risk factor of storms and all that kind of stuff. We dearly love the tree, but it's just the location that we're in disagreement with. If at all possible, very much like to have it approval for the removal of it.
Could we have our pictures?
Did you back up to the top of it? That's good. No, the top of that slide, I'm sorry. Right.
Couple of them have already come down. One of them actually did damage already to the house and one to their neighbor's house. But for us to remove the limbs that are over the house is going to remove more than 20% of the tree itself.
It's a normal thing for a pine tree to do its own limbing up, if you will. This is normal. And yes, those fall, but a good homeowner pays attention to this. And when that happens, you can get them up. And but it's a normal process to take place. And those trees are strong. And the fact that they are that close together, the root system grows together, which makes both of them stronger in standing. They got extra support of each other. If you were to take one of them out, that one left would not be as strong as it is now.
We're not looking just get rid of one of them, we'd like both of them down. I'd be more than happy to plant them in 5 feet from your bedroom wall if you like.
She's got a big oak tree right next to her bedroom.
I do. And
That argument doesn't work with her.
no, it doesn't. And I'm going to keep it mine right where it is. And my limbs have not fallen. And if it does, I'll take care of it.
Ma'am, you mentioned you had someone come and take some limbs out in the past. Was it you, sir?
No, sir, I hadn't taken anything out.
Um,
Next to it, one lane, number one, just leaning over there, I'll lean towards that.
A good number of branches, number one. Or-
That's what.
We saw that with the tree number one, the one that leaning slightly to them had a lot of weight on that side for obvious reasons. It's competing with the one right next to it, the crown, and a normal situation to speak of would be that hope that maybe some of that weight could be taken, and that imbalance could be taken out without jeopardizing the tree. And I believe in that case of that tree, we could. Now, that's more easily said than done. Because it's gonna be tough to get back in there. I don't think you want to spike a tree like that. Or any tree for that matter, but it always presents a problem. As far, I have to go back to the other thing, as far as getting on the roof, at this point, not having anything to do with anything else, might be time to just find someone else to get up on the roof. You know, I mean, I've sympathized. I've fallen on my roof a number of times. It's a metal roof and it's slippery when it's wet, doing the same thing. But
And with the trimming of, and I'm sorry,
no, that's right.
with the trimming of number one, that tree, it didn't have too many limbs in the top.
Could you flip up again, Jesse?
Number two. You trim, say, 2 limbs off of that, and then really, I don't like doing the job and leaving it. Get free out of that. And it's gonna be a pole with small cluster limbs.
I agree with you. I don't like ugly either.
And I don't like.
And this has already been pruned up rather well. And so that's to your credit, to somebody's credit, that it looks as that has happened and it looks good. And appears to be healthy from what we could see from the ground,
Yeah, it does.
the slight.
Is that top and the one beside it, is that a vertical? Can you go out and look at it? Or is the top of the vertical?
I didn't see that anything broke up there when I was there, but that way up there. I see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sure looks like it.
Oh, yeah. We never see that.
That has, that was really fit in tandem.
So, if I had my main guy from rope, instead of rope and stuff.
Took a picture of that up there.
And you would be over there?
I sure can.
Okay. Cause I'm really, I didn't see that top, I guess we hold it.
We didn't either. I didn't look at the photo well enough.
Yeah, it's hard to see from right there. I guess I took that other picture from the front yard.
And y'all approve it, I'll be more than happy to make a nice donation to your tree fund and replant elsewhere. It's just the location.
Yeah, that is so misleading because that tree looks like such a monster when you're standing underneath it and looking up like you would possibly be a thing wrong with it. Wow.
If you have an arborist to look at it like we cannot, that would certainly help find out what that looks like from their view standpoint.
I'd definitely like to said, you know.
Just give me a call when you're gonna do it, so I can put it in my schedule to,
My wife, please have your number or.
I can get a card for you before we leave.
All right, thank you.
I've talked to her, so I guess she does.
So you're gonna have a visit? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion that there's also a Bradford pear that you desperately would like to get rid of in the front yard, and that's, so I make a motion that we permit the removal of the Bradford pear and defer judgment on the pine trees until a little
Later.
bit further looking.
I second that.
Thank
All in favor, say aye.
you. Second.
I did.
No.
Oh,
All in favor of the motion?
oh, aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
You.
108 Horseshoe Bay Court.
That's us. Good morning.
Good morning.
We live in Pine Forest, so there are pine trees everywhere. We happen to have a particularly small backyard in which there are 7 large pine trees. One of them has a hole in it, and I think that's been approved for removal. The other 2 are within 10 feet of the house. I measured this morning again. One is 9.2 and the other one is 9.9 from the foundation. On one side, to the foundation, right. The one nearest the tree that's been approved, where those roots have gone down, there is a crack in the foundation that's just started, I guess. And on the other side, that tree is really tall and leans, that tree, leans forward toward the front of the house. Tree number 1.
There's a big pine tree right next to it.
Right,
All the branches on that pine tree are on the sunny side,
right.
and it just will continue.
Yeah, that's the one that's the farthest away, but it has the branches going forward. That's number 1. And number 2, I think it's number 2. That's the one that has the roots going toward the foundation. Number 3 is the one that has the hole in it that I think has been approved for removal. Oh, we talked about that. When we first moved into the house, there were roots all over the backyard, I mean, to the point of tripping. We've since had some sod put down, and there's been some trimming of those roots to try to salvage that whole area. But at the same time, the roots are still traveling toward that area of the foundation where the crack is.
Can you go back down, Jesse, please?
Can have the, I don't know what kind of root pruning you might have done, but you can have root pruning done where someone comes in and digs a little bit of a trench. It may only be 2 inches wide, but say at your side or at the foundation. And so that you've eliminated the possibility of cracks or damage to your foundation. And if you're that away from the tree, that it's not, that does not damage the tree when you're that far away.
Okay.
Bill, could you go through your assessment real quick on these trees? There's one evidently has a defect they were mentioning.
Was that number 3? Yeah.
Yes, number 3 has the rotten spot up it a little bit.
Further up.
Cavity in it.
On number 3.
No,
No, it's number 2.
number 2.
Number 2, okay. Number 2.
No, they're
They've been
backwards.
mislabeled.
Yeah, I was saying it looks,
Oh,
And the other is 2.
that's my fault.
Number 2.
That's-
Yeah.
That's really the number 2.
okay, number 2 in that picture.
And the branches towards the top are clearly dying or already dead.
All right, so number 2 in that picture. So number 1 and 3
1 and 3 are the ones that are really close to the house, and 2 is a little bit farther back.
Okay, can we find picture number 1 real quick?
There.
Okay, so that's by the shed.
And if you look at the top of that, you'll see all the branches are headed toward the front of the house. It's leaning in that direction.
It looks pretty
Going
straight
back to number
there.
1 or?
Yeah, it
There it
looks
is.
pretty straight there.
Well. I'm not recalling, Bill, the foundation crack.
It had a little, yes, over there where tree number 1 had a little line in the side there, but not sure it's from that tree. It just has a little crack in the cement, wasn't it, on the
Yeah.
side, on the side of the
It's a
house there?
slab, so it's a little harder to see.
Yeah.
Because it's solid cement. It's the proximity that
Yeah,
most concerning. Definitely within 10 feet of the house.
How far is number 1 from the house, Bill? Do you know?
I think it was over 10 feet, number 1 was.
No,
No, I measured it this morning. It's 99
from
and
the
a half
foundation
exactly.
of
From
the
the
slab
foundation to the
to
root
the
of the
base
tree,
of the roof
Was,
base of the tree.
was 9 feet.
9 feet, 9 and a half.
okay.
And the one on the other side is 9 feet, 2 and a half. I have it. but-
By the shed, the one by the shed.
The
Okay.
one, the
You
one
measuring-
on the shed side is 9,
9.2.
9 and a half.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that to the shed or to the house?
No, that's. to
That's
the
tree number
house.
1.
I don't care about how close it
No, I
is to
just,
the shed.
I understand.
No, I understand. I'm not. trying to
We're
be
giving it a
disrespectful,
name, the
but-
shed tree as opposed to. the-
That's tree number
All right,
1.
Tree next
shed
to the one with
tree-
the hole in
shed
it.
Tree is 9, 9 and a half.
And how
One
did,
on the other side closest to the tree with the
Hole in it,
defect
right?
is 9, 2 and a half.
Okay, so they're both. on.
how did you measure that?
I measured it from the foundation to the base of the tree,
On the ground.
on the ground.
Supposed to be measuring from chest high.
Yes, we understand.
We also did it from the,
And it was closer. Chest high was roughly 91 inches, I think. And on the other tree, it was 99 inches.
well, I didn't do it to the root. I did
No.
it to the
Well,
base of the tree.
it's within just anywhere in there we know
Yeah.
how close it is to it.
Okay,
We're not measuring inches.
I understand. I wanted to do it this morning for my own edification so that I knew exactly how close we were.
So Bill, number 1 and 3, health of the tree, in your opinion? Health of the trees.
Both trees were healthy. The only tree I saw with any problem was tree number 2.
I thought you said 3.
Well, it was a flip flop. It's number 2.
Well, you look at the thing right there you're looking at now. I labeled that one picture wrong. Number
Okay.
2, tree number 2 has
Defect.
the defect in it.
So the only, for number 3, the one issue is the weighted limbs on one side toward the house.
Towards
The
the
tree's
house.
still, it's not leaning, it may be weighted that side.
Weighted that side. And you had some limbs on tree number 1 that were coming back over the house that were pretty
Mhm.
big.
If number 1 were taken down, the tree that's next to it will blossom out. Start
They're
over-
really
Over
close.
time, it's pretty close. So you can see how the branches are not able to grow because it's being shaded by the tree. The backyard is roughly 1,500 square feet and 7 large pine trees. Not to mention the other trees that are there. Pine trees. Those
Black
The
myrtles.
palms, 2 palmettos.
two palmettos.
So number 1 on the right-hand side, I'm looking at the other tree to the left That's,
Yes,
that's
the
number,
tree Where the 108 is written over the top,
that's fine. That's not a question to be taken down. Okay, thank you.
That was fine.
but that will. Like I said, branches on the right hand, I'm looking at the right hand side. Not a lot of branches here. The branch growth, but it's not, it doesn't be very far out.
And there are 4 other large pine trees that go from where 108 is across the back of the yard.
Didn't quite get the top of the one with 108 on it, Jesse.
Bill, did you feel like number 3, if it was trimmed up, wouldn't help balance that tree better?
Go back up, Jesse, and let's see if we can get the top of,
Tree number 3.
Or whichever one was next to the shed. I'm sorry, I may have the numbers
Dead
wrong.
tree, but doesn't
Number
say shed
1,
on the
yeah, number
diagram.
1, excuse me.
Probably number 1, trimmed up the trees, branches all are pretty high up, they're well over the top of the house. 2 lowest branches are also the biggest branches. And then the other ones that are pulling the tree more towards the house. So remove those. Basically a telephone pole with a nice furry top.
Well, we're talking about the shed tree now, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I remember that it looked to me there were, not everything, but some large major ones pointing toward the house that could be removed. And I thought it would still be a tolerable canopy tree in your yard. And that's recollection, and that's what we look at, and sometimes it's hard to reconcile that with a picture.
I felt like it was about 2 or 3 limbs you could remove off of that tree number 1 and would unload it quite a bit. And that was,
I agree.
On the bottom.
My
Because there'd
my
be
other
much left
concern
up
would
there.
be, would that get into the 20%?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, because there's not much left up there.
And that's a guideline. I mean, that's what you go by, but there's some flexibility, I think, depending on the tree and the site.
Okay.
We moved down from Brevard, North Carolina, living in the forest. So we know a lot about trees. I appreciate that.
Well, you look at pine plantations when the stocking is rather close and they're just trucking along and they just got a top on them and
Oh,
that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So there is a lot of flexibility there. It's a hard thing to have to try and make a cardinal rule for things like this.
Yeah. oh, I'm
When
sure.
one more branch can make the difference between saving a tree and having to take it down because of inadequacy. So it's, I don't, you haven't done this before. I'm sorry you've had to wait so long and be at the end of the line, but you see, but this process is
Oh, yeah,
difficult.
No, it's actually been very educational.
It's been a learning process being last.
Yeah, I was curious how this all worked. You know, and you were talking about trying to be a good steward of the trees that you have in your yard, and trees, well, not 3, but tree number 2, which is the one that's closest to the other side of the house, does need a substantial amount of trimming. And I don't think that's going to go over 20%, but there's a lot of dead stuff up there.
Which one?
The one closest to the house on the other side, the one closest to,
Yeah, that's.
to the damaged tree.
number
That's
3,
number,
actually.
okay. Yeah,
I
I
am
think you're
too.
right. But that one, we're gonna have to trim a fair amount anyway. 'cause we
Well,
have that. It's got a lot of
If you've got dead branches, which is normal again for the tree
Right,
to
no, I
limb up,
understand.
when you remove those that are dead, that doesn't count on your 20%.
Well, those up there that you see where the 108 is,
Uh-huh.
those have already come down and self-pruned. Those were behind the shed yesterday, so they're gone. So I get the self-pruning concept, because they do that nicely, as long as there's nothing falling on the house or breaking glass, but that just fell on the shed. It's fine.
There's the issue, still the issue of the slab that we don't know. And it's not something that we want to see get worse, so we know we're right about the challenging of the slab, because that's serious.
And you've heard us talk about root pruning too in this
Yeah,
session
well,
today.
the root pruning's been done, as you saw when you were walking around the yard, when they laid the sod.
But did they trench along the house?
Yeah, they cut the two big roots that were going from tree number 3 towards the house. They were cut and taken out because they were on the surface. all the way
Right,
to the house.
but there's more roots down below.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
we
oh,
understand
sure.
that.
So there's the ones that Faye's
Yeah, this is-
referring to pruning, to go deeper and to get those that will be challenging. Those that are even deeper won't. But those that are in proximity to the slab that you may not see, and that's why you wonder about, maybe the crack came from one of the roots that they removed? No way to know.
We have no way of knowing.
No way,
It wasn't just lined up with the crack or anything like that to make it easy.
no way of knowing for sure.
But when you can do this type pruning, the root pruning with a digging a trench down, that you are eliminating the possibility, or maybe even some that we can't see, you can't see, you don't know they're there. And eliminating the possibility of damage that you might have later because you've already done that.
We planted a camellia there on the corner. A little bit of a challenge taking it home.
Yes, that was, I believe, a beautiful Sasanqua.
And the Japanese maple that's there, shoots out a lot of roots too.
So this is a tree that you're seeing the hairline fracture or crack on?
Yeah,
Okay.
right behind.
Right behind that
camellia. And then.
You have an estimate, anybody, how far what the DBH of that tree is?
You said DBH?
Yeah.
16 inch. No, it's probably 14 because the numbers were wrong.
No, that tree, what tree you talking about?
2 and 3.
Well,
Number 3 closest to the house is 16 inches.
the one we're just looking at.
Okay.
Okay, 16 inches. 16.
2's 19.
Number 3, which is the one closest to the house that the hammock's hooked on, is
Yeah.
16-inch tree. The tree with the rotten hole in it is 19 inch. And tree number 1 is 21.5 inches.
And now we have, all the trees have names. We have the hammock tree
Yeah.
and the shed tree.
Right.
Now we've got it.
The whole tree, the hammock tree, and the shed tree.
I'd like to make a motion.
Do you want to name the other tree?
More discussion, I guess I should wait.
Well, I was just wondering how, what size was, just, we're talking about root pruning. It appears to be a tree that of size that would work with root pruning by the house, but that's just one option. I don't know what else is there underground, like you said. Go ahead, Peter.
So I move that tree number 2 be removed. Tree number 1 be removed. And tree number 3 be pruned to a level that will give greater comfort to that side of the tree and therefore not challenge the house as much.
So number 2,
Number 2, the one with the hole in it,
okay, and which was the other one?
and the hammock tree.
Number 3. So you're saying 2 and 3?
2 and 3, however how you
2 and
want
3,
to call
Did
either
you
it.
way
say-
you want to shift it.
So we had this iron out with a hammock.
I'm
Then we
sorry.
You
changed
said
it
1
right.
and
No,
2
no,
and
it's okay.
prune tree number 3.
Yeah, so 3 is one
The one by-
closest.
The one by the shed
That's number one.
No,
That's number one.
Okay, I would like to leave that.
Yeah, okay.
Prune
I just want to make sure. Okay.
Okay, 2 and
Number
3.
one.
2 and 3, regardless of how they are labeled, is still 2 and 3,
Okay.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that solved that, didn't it?
Yes, sir. Okay. So motion is to remove 2 and 3 and save 1. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, a second.
Second.
Have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Again, we tell everybody else, if you see
I
something.
want you to
we're
name the
taking
third
trees
tree.
down.
I mean.
we'll give them names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Certainly.
Okay.
All right, is there any miscellaneous items we need to talk about?
The Rutherford house, I texted the owner and he had sold the house not too long ago and he's lived right there next to it his whole life. And he said he never recalled any problems with the sewer or the water.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Another tough one.
Yep.
So I have one thing unrelated to today, so if there's something more about today, I'll wait. But I guess I could have done this 2 meetings ago, and I apologize. I did get feedback from Dominion on how the pressure to bear, where it comes from, and et cetera, for cutting down the trees and trimming them for power lines. And I was informed incorrectly. It's not FEMA. Maybe it was at one time, putting pressure and denying money after crises that places aren't taken care of. Everyone nationwide is to be honoring ANSI 300. And you can go to dominion.com and look up on tree protection or tree trimming to get the details. But we all know that it's Lewis Tree Company pretty much decides on the spot whether they accidentally do it differently than, but there are standards of height above and to the bottom and to the sides and all the rest of that. And he says that's the only thing. And they have to get the money. They have to figure out what it's going to cost based on that. And the money comes, the approval comes to, I guess, through rate hikes or whatever, or some other source. Public Service Commission has to agree to Dominion's request for funds to do the tree trimming.
Mhm.
So that's what I found out.
But there's no federal or state requirements to.
Apparently
that's just-
not.
So they're
It's
following the ANSI standards, which that's what it looks like. If we're talking about along
Right.
Central Avenue.
You're very familiar with all that, I'm sure.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, it doesn't look pretty. Obviously, doing a rocking chair or a V notch or something, but you get the clearance from the conductors and that's what they're trying to
Yep.
accomplish without removing the tree. And yes, sometimes it looks like the tree should come down, but that's not what they're required to do.
I know. Well, it's a legitimate claim. And when that man came here that time, maybe that was a tree that was ignored for years. Oh, let's take it easy on that. Let's take it easy on that
Mm.
tree. And then 10 years later, oh man, we got to do something. And it looks absolutely horrendous. Who knows, but yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Peter, for checking in on that.
Hard to predict the future.
We need to have a little review on mitigation. I felt sort of.
Yeah, I mean, even after the workshop we had, I'll admit I
Right.
not gone back and looked at the stuff, but just for our edification, Jesse, I mean, the new wording in the UDO, I mean, we still have, an existing property that has trees there and we approve the tree, then there's no mitigation required. Is that correct? Let's say in Twin Oaks or somewhere it's been a very long time, if we allow the tree to come out, there's obviously no mitigation.
No mitigation.
Right.
And I guess. Right. So we can't ask for mitigation in those cases anymore if we wanted to do that as a board. Right. Okay. That kind of answer?
Well, here the person was volunteering and, and I wasn't gonna discourage it.
Yeah,
You can say, you know,
You can suggest, that's,
request, we can't require, but we would request that you replant, yes, they certainly
Mhm.
certainly do that.
mhm.
But if it meets the requirements for removal, either it's damage or,
Right.
causing property, significant property, that type of thing, then no, it's technically.
Hey, and single family residences, the tree bank thing's pretty much,
You can't use.
Out of
it
that.
as a single family
Yeah.
residence. You can require mitigation, but if they can't fit everything on the lot, then
that's it,
they just
right?
fit what they can.
Right.
Minimum is still 2.5 inches,
I think it's technically 3 inches, but
technically what, 3 inches?
Well, what's,
I mean,
yeah,
we use 2.5.
Because you couldn't get the 3 inches. Okay,
so again, just to emphasize your point, if it requires 7 trees and only 3 can logically be put on the property, that's the extent. Okay,
Now, that's only for existing single.
family residence.
If
Right.
it's a developer, then that.
They can still pay into the tree fund.
Developers can still pay, still have to pay into the tree fund.
Right.
Just for existing.
Which is what mostly we have to do. I caught us a little sleep in there, man.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
all right, any more miscellaneous items?
move to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
That wasn't totally fun, was it?
Well,
Huh?
Yeah, that was.
I know, but that was only because we had reasonable people.
Yeah.
We had some very reasonable people here today. And I wish I could see between the lines